Today we will see about landmark trials which are involved in lupus nephritis. This is the short outline. The landmark trials so far have evolved from 1986 till 2021. We will see the important landmark trial and regarding what are the treatment changes which have occurred since 1986. How this landmark trial played a role, we will see one by one. Before going into the landmark trial, there is a short introduction. It was in 1922 where the two doctors have found that incidence of renal involvement is more common in the SLE patient, and they labeled that as lupus nephritis. In the SLE patient who are having proteinuria of more than 500 mg per day, or the active urinary sediment, or the decreased kidney function, renal biopsy is warranted. Almost 50 to 80% of the patient will be having lupus nephritis, which might be non-proliferative form or the proliferative one. The other remaining about 5% of the lupus patient with renal involvement might be having podocytopathy, lupus podocytopathy, which is about 1 to 2%, and this is having a good response to steroids. TMI can occur up to 25% of the patient with SLE, and others are interstitial nephritis, cryoglobulemic GN, and acute tubular necrosis can also occur. The importance of this slide is the landmark trial which have been done so far have included majority of the proliferative form of the lupus nephritis, that is especially class 3, 4 and the 5. Regarding the classification, the first classification was published in 1975. The latest International Society of Nephrology and the RPS Renal Pathological Society classification was published in 2013. As per this classification, lupus nephritis has been classified into 6 classes as shown here, and these three, focal proliferative lupus, diffuse proliferative lupus and the membranous lupus, are the mixed class. These are all the most important target of the trial because here only the focus of the immunosuppression have been revolved around. Any SLE patient with lupus nephritis, the main treatment target are to avoid the progression to ESRD in a lupus nephritis patient, because there is 10% chances over 5 years the patient might land in ESRD, and to avoid renal flares, and to use the immunosuppressant to achieve this with the minimal toxic profile. And they have shown that up to 80% can be 80% of the patient with lupus nephritis can be induced to partial or complete remission with the available immunosuppressant drug. Regarding the immunosuppressant strategy, it is divided into induction regimen and the maintenance regimen. In the induction regimen, the main goal is to achieve the remission with the short aggressive course of the immunosuppressant, whereas in the maintenance immunosuppression is to maintain the remission, and there will be there is involvement of the long-term administration of the immunosuppressant to maintain this regimen. So the toxic effect of the drug is more in this group, so the main target is to reduce the toxic effect and to maintain the remission. Coming to the trials one by one. After the beginning of the lupus nephritis, this was the first trial which was done in 1964, where they have showed the role of steroids in the treatment of lupus nephritis. They have divided the patient into the patient who received steroids survived longer, and the patient who received steroid at a higher dose have an advantage over the low dose steroids. There comes the NIH protocol. There are 3 important NIH protocol. We will see one by one. This is the first NIH protocol which was published in 1986. Here the active lupus nephritis patient are divided into 5 treatment arms as shown here. First is the high dose oral steroid followed by tapering, oral azathioprine or steroid plus low dose steroid. Third is oral cyclophosphamide plus steroid. Fourth is oral cyclophosphamide plus aza plus steroid. Fifth is cyclophosphamide, which is the injectable one, plus low dose steroid. And what they have shown is, here they have studied about 107 patients. The author is Austin and Howard, and they have shown that renal function was better preserved in patients who received various cytotoxic drugs, and the effect was significant among the patients who received IV cyclophosphamide plus the low-dose steroid. This is the summary of this first NIH protocol. Then subsequently in 1992, there's a publication in the Lancet journal where the NIH 2 protocol was published. In this, there were 3 treatment arms. First is the first group received, this also trial was done in the active proliferative form of lupus nephritis. First is IV cyclophosphamide pulse dose for 6 months. Second is the same group plus the quarterly cyclophosphamide have been added in this group and followed up for 2 years. Third is the pulse steroid group for 6 months. And they have shown that addition in the pulse steroid group, there is a high probability of doubling of serum creatinine compared to the cyclophosphamide group. And also they have shown that addition of additional cyclophosphamide to the monthly pulse reduces the rate of exaggeration. Then comes the third NIH protocol, which was published in 1996. Here also they divided the patient into 3 randomized arms. One is the bolus pulse steroid given for 1 year. Second is cyclophosphamide given for pulse dose monthly for 6 months and then quarterly. Third, the patient received a combination. And they have shown that the study design I will show over here. This is the third NIH protocol. And they have shown they have included 81 patients and they have randomized to receive either the pulse steroid, pulse cyclophosphamide or the combination. As we see here, the cyclophosphamide group performed better, that is 62% and 85% achieved remission in the cyclophosphamide group as per this NIH third protocol. So at the end of the 3 NIH protocol, one thing is clear, cyclophosphamide performed better than the steroid. They noticed there is no major difference between the oral and cyclophosphamide in inducing the remission in lupus nephritis patient. At that time, the standard of care became the monthly cyclophosphamide. Before going into the next drug MMF, the trial was published in 2000. We will see one trial which we will finish the trials which are related to the cyclophosphamide. The other important landmark trial which was published was this Eurolupus trial, which is the Eurolupus nephritis trial, ELNT trial. Here they have included 90 patients with active lupus nephritis. They have been divided into 46 and 44. They received either low dose steroid or the high dose steroid. In the low dose, they received 500 mg fortnightly for 6 doses. Here they received 1 gram every monthly for 6 months. And the outcome was steady. When we see this graph in the short-term follow-up, this is the graph showing the probability of remission and the free of renal flare. This low dose and high dose almost comparable in both the things. Not only in short term, even if we take the long term follow-up, there is no much difference between the low dose and the high dose cyclophosphamide group. The incidence of ESRD was 5% in the low dose group and 9% in the high dose group. And 10-year follow-up of this Eurolupus trial was also published. That also showed there was a comparable result between those two groups. And one point to note here is the cumulative IV cyclophosphamide in the high dose group was 9.5 mg and in the low dose was 5.5 mg. So what is the conclusion of this? They have shown that in European SLE patient with active proliferative form of lupus nephritis, the low dose IV cyclophosphamide performed as equal as the high dose regimen. Even though the infection is high in the high dose regimen, but it was not statistically significant. So this was the conclusion of the Eurolupus trial. Now, how the MMF was introduced? After the 3 NIS protocol, at the time when the cyclophosphamide was the standard of care, there was a meta-analysis which showed that there was a high risk of ovarian failure with cyclophosphamide and there was a need to find the alternative therapies or to reduce the dose of cyclophosphamide. For this only we have seen the Eurolupus trial which was published in 2002. For this there is a trial done by Chan et al which was published in 2000. This is the trial regarding the efficacy of MMF in patients with diffuse proliferative lupus nephritis. This is an important landmark trial because currently many patients are receiving MMF because of the more favorable side effect profile. And the conclusion of the study was MMF plus steroid performed as equal as IV cyclophosphamide plus steroid followed by the same maintenance regimen. And this is the study design. This was done by the Hong Kong Nephrology Study Group where they studied 42 patients. They randomized to receive 6 months of steroid plus cyclophosphamide followed by steroid plus AZA for 6 months. Other group received steroid plus MMF for 12 months. As we see, the primary outcome, that is the complete remission, is almost 74%, 81%, which is comparable, and they told MMF is as effective as cyclophosphamide in inducing the remission. Coming to the other major trials which have involved MMF and the cyclophosphamide, this is the first trial by Chan et al. I have described this, which is the landmark trial which was published in 2000. Subsequently, there are 3 trials which have compared MMF versus cyclophosphamide in induction for lupus nephritis. Here, then study have included 140 patient, 44 patient, 370 patient, all have with the active form of the lupus nephritis. This trial show the non-inferiority of MMF compared with cyclophosphamide, and it is a positive trial. Here also prednisolone plus MMF and steroid plus pulse cyclophosphamide equally effective. This study, they didn't show the superiority of MMF. Almost all the trials have shown that MMF is as equal as IV cyclophosphamide. There is one Indian study in this context. I have grouped the trials as per the drugs. This trial was published by the PGI Chandigarh Study Group where they published this in 2016. Here they have compared the low dose IV cyclophosphamide with the oral MMF in the treatment of lupus nephritis. They have included 173 patients, but 100 patients were randomized to receive either low dose cyclophosphamide as per the Eurolupus protocol or the oral MMF. At the end of the 24 week, they have assessed the outcome and they have shown that results similar to the previous trial. There was no much difference in the treatment response or complete remission rate as well as adverse effect between the two groups. From the Indian point of view, they have shown that the patient who received MMF as an induction, they have to spend approximately 60,000. The patient who received IV cyclophosphamide have to spend approximately 8,000, which is the cost factor between the two drugs in the inducing the remission. This was at the time of 2016 when this trial was published. The cost factor is the other major difference from the Indian point of view between the two drugs. So far all the trials we have seen compared the drugs in inducing the remission in the lupus nephritis patient. Now coming to the trials which are related to the maintenance. The important trial of this is published in 2004 in NEJM. There's a sequential therapy for proliferative lupus nephritis. Here they have studied 49 patients, all received the induction regimen as shown here. Subsequently, they have been categorized into to receive either IV cyclophosphamide quarterly for maintenance or oral AZA at the dose of 2 mg per kg or MMF at the dose of 500 to 3 gram per day. And they have shown that MMF and AZA performed better than IV cyclophosphamide for the maintenance regimen. This is the graph showing the superiority of MMF and AZA compared to the cyclophosphamide for maintaining regimen in lupus nephritis. It was maintained up to 60 months, that is up to 5 years it was maintained. Next important maintenance study is of AM study of 2011, but this is of AM study of 2009 because they have did the study in two phases. One is for induction, another one is for maintenance. Induction, the summary is MMF versus cyclophosphamide for induction treatment of lupus nephritis was compared. 370 patients have been taken for the study, and as shown here, there is no major difference between the two drugs they have found out in this trial. But one important finding from this trial is in the post hoc analysis of the data, they have shown that MMF was superior to IV cyclophosphamide in the Hispanic and the black population, and they have in this trial they have shown that, and this is the induction regimen of choice in these two subgroups. Then the importance of the maintenance trial came, which is the 2011 AMS trial. They compared MMF versus AZA for maintenance regimen in lupus nephritis. The summary is they have studied 227 patients randomly allotted to either MMF or AZA. The dose used in this regimen was 2 gram per day for MMF, for AZA 2 milligram per kg per day. And they have shown that MMF was superior to AZA in inducing the renal response in response to treatment and preventing relapse in patients with lupus nephritis. The next trial which is related to the maintenance is I think this is the third trial we are discussing regarding the maintenance. This is the maintain nephritis trial. Here they have included 105 patients. They compared again AZA and MMF, and they have shown that even though MMF renal flares are less, clinical other outcome are not superior compared to AZA. This is the conclusion from this study. Even in the long-term follow-up also, this trial didn't indicate that MMF is superior to AZA. But one point to note in this trial is it was done in the Caucasian population only who are having the proliferative form of lupus nephritis. Next, so far we have seen totally 4 trials for the maintenance, the importance of which is our maintain nephritis trial and the ALMS trial of 2011. There was a meta-analysis which was published in 2012 which included ALMS trial, maintain trial, and an additional 4 trials they have taken, and they have shown that MMF is the preferred choice of maintenance treatment in the lupus nephritis, which this meta-analysis was published in 2012. So we have finished the trials which are related to cyclophosphamide and MMF regarding the induction and the maintenance. Now coming to the second category of drug, which are the calcineurin inhibitors. This was introduced in the treatment of lupus nephritis because of the immunosuppression role and the podocyte ultrastructural stabilization role. They stabilize the podocyte actin cytoskeleton by inhibiting the deep phosphorylation of cyanidopodin, and it is an actin associated protein which regulates the cell shape, and they have shown this effective in proliferative and membranous form of the lupus nephritis. The trial, we will see one trial related to cyclosporin and one related to tacrolimus. The trial related to cyclosporin was published in 2010, which is the Cyclopha Lune trial. They have studied 40 patients. They have been randomly allotted to this group or this group. The dose as shown here. Cyclosporin was given at 4 to 5 mg per kg per day for 9 months. And the summary of this, they have studied 40 patients. In conclusion, they have shown that cyclosporin was as effective as cyclosporin was as effective as cyclophosphamide in inducing and maintaining treatment in patients with proliferative lupus nephritis. But the trials which are related to cyclosporine in lupus nephritis is less compared to other drugs. One trial regarding the tacrolimus, which was published in 2012, they have compared MMF TAC against the standard of care, which is the cyclophosphamide. See, they have shown that MMF and TAC is effective and better than IV cyclophosphamide, as shown in this trial study edition. I will show you. Here they have taken 60 patients. They have been alerted to either oral MMF at a dose of 2 gram per day, or tacrolimus. The dose used is 0.1 milligram per kg and the level target was 6 to 8 nanogram per ml. And the third group was alerted to the IV cyclophosphamide monthly pulse of 500 milligram. So result as we see here, MMF, tacrolimus, out of the 20, 15 in MMF, 15 in the tacrolimus group have achieved remission compared to the IV cyclophosphamide, and they have shown that tacrolimus and MMF are as equally effective in inducing the remission in this group. Next trial related to the multi-target therapy, which was published in 2012. This is the successful treatment of class 5 and class 4 lupus nephritis with multi-targeted therapy. The summary is 40 patients they have studied. They have been alerted to the multi-target therapy, which contains MMF, steroid and tacrolimus. They have compared it against the IV cyclophosphamide. Going directly to the conclusion, they have shown that multi-target therapy is superior to IV cyclophosphamide for inducing complete remission in class 4 and class 5 lupus nephritis patient, and they have shown it is well tolerated also. In this graph you can see the remission rate at 6 months and remission rate at 9 months between the multi-targeted therapy group and the cyclophosphamide group. They have shown that multi-target therapy performed better in this. And regarding next CNI, which is the voclosporin trial, the trial related to this is 2018 AURA-LV study. This is the RCT comparing the addition of voclosporin versus placebo with the standard of care in patient with active lupus nephritis. This is actually a multi-center trial. They compared two doses, that is 23 milligram and 39 milligram of voclosporin versus the placebo. See, this is the study design. All the patients with active form of lupus nephritis are already receiving MMF plus oral steroids. So those who are on this kind of standard of care, that is MMF and cyclosporin, MMF and steroid, they have been alerted to either placebo or voclosporin, which are given at low dose, or voclosporin, which is given at a high dose. And the outcome was assessed at 24 weeks and 48 weeks. And this table have shown the steroid dose that they have used to taper during this time. And this is the study design. They studied 265 patients with class 3, 4 and 5 lupus nephritis. They have been alerted to placebo, low dose or high dose. As we see here, the response is better in the voclosporin group, the primary endpoint and the secondary endpoint. And they have shown that addition of low dose voclosporin to my MMF and corticosteroid, which is the standard of care, result in a better remission rate among the patient with active form of the lupus nephritis. So now we have completed the cytotoxic drug. Next is the calcineurin inhibitor. Now coming to the trials which are related to the B cell targeted therapy. The first is the LUNAR trial, which was published in 2012. This is the efficacy and safety of rituximab in patient with active proliferative lupus nephritis. Before going to the study design, the conclusion we will see. They have shown that even though rituximab group, there is a better response in the anti-dsDNA and C3-C4 level, it did not improve any clinical outcome in patient who is already on standard of care. So this is the study design. Patient with active lupus nephritis who are already receiving MMF as a standard of care along with steroid. The tapering dose is given over here. They received either placebo or rituximab. Rituximab they used in this study was 1 gram given on day week 1 to 16, 24 and 26. Then the outcome was assessed at week 52. As we see here, this is placebo, this is rituximab. Complete plus partial response, even though it is better in the rituximab group, but it is not clinically, statistically significant. And they have analyzed the subgroup also in the black population, Hispanic population, and the white population. There was no much difference between these two, placebo and the rituximab group. The next important trial which was published related to rituximab was the rituximab trial published in 2013. This is an important landmark trial because whatever the trial so far we have discussed since the beginning of the lupus nephritis, all were revolving around the steroids. Either it will be like they always add on the cytotoxic drug in the background of the steroid. This is the trial for the first time in 60 years. They have did the trial without the oral steroid. They have suggested that oral steroid can be safely avoided in patient with lupus nephritis without apparent reduction in the efficacy or increase in relapse rate up to 3 years of follow-up. Short summary of the study: they have studied 50 patients. They have received 1 gram of rituximab and 500 milligram of steroid on day 1 and day 15, and maintenance was maintained with the drug MMF. And they have shown that the outcome you can study over here. The conclusion is that this have demonstrated that oral steroids can be safely avoided in the treatment of lupus nephritis, and this graph have shown follow-up up to 156 weeks. This is the group who have achieved partial remission, complete remission, and the percentage who have relapsed. So they have shown that rituximab plus pulse steroids without oral steroid is as if, like they didn't compare. They have shown that this can be used and oral steroid can be avoided. So these are all the 4 important landmark trials which are related to rituximab in lupus nephritis. Rituximab 2013 LUNAR trial I have described. This is the positive trial for rituximab. This showed no much difference. Another trial is Rituxi rescue trial. Here they have used very less number of patients. Only 18 patients have been used. And another one is the Explorer trial, which they have for the extrarenal site. The trial was related, and they have shown that no difference in the outcome was shown. So 4 important trials related to the rituximab: LUNAR, Rituximab, Rituxi rescue, and the Explorer. Coming to the next CD20 inhibitor, which is the obinutuzumab trial published in 2019, which is the Nobility trial. What is this drug obinutuzumab? It is also a anti-CD20 monoclonal antibody, but this binds CD20 differently than rituximab, and it depletes B cell to a greater degree than rituximab. And in preclinical studies, they have shown that it significantly increased antibody-dependent cellular cytotoxicity and enhanced cell death over the type 1 CD20 monoclonal antibodies. This is the study design. They have included 126 patients allotted to placebo plus standard of care, that is MMF plus steroid, or the drug. The drug was given at a dose of 1 gram IV pulse, day 1, day 15, day 168 and day 182, and they assess the outcome at the 52 week. As we see over here, at week 52 and 76, the response rate was better in the group who received drug than the placebo. And they have shown that this Nobility trial of 2019 met its primary and secondary efficacy point, and the reduction in the B cell was more sustained and as compared to the historical data of the lunar, and the clinically meaningful benefit as compared to MMF plus steroid, and it was sustained through week 76. But further extended results and phase 3 results are also awaited. Next, fourth group of drugs trials which are related to the biological. The two important biological which are related to the lupus nephritis, first is the abatacept. It is a fusion protein inhibitor. The fusion protein, that is the CD86, which is present on the B cell, B7 inhibitor, thereby it decreases the T cell activation. The trial which is related to is the access trial. Just remember the name. If you want the detail, you can go through this. The summary is they added abatacept to the standard of care. As per the lupus trial, they were receiving the standard of care versus the placebo. They have shown that there is no difference between the abatacept and the placebo group, so it is a negative trial. Next is belimumab. What is this? B cell activating factor have to bind to the B cell BAF receptor which is present in the B cell and the BCMA and TSCI. These are involved in the B cell survival and maturation, plasma cell survival, B cell survival, and B cell proliferation. This belimumab actually blocks all this. Thereby, the survival of this B cell proliferation of the plasma cell gets decreased. And one point to note is this belimumab. This is the recombinant human monoclonal antibody and is approved by the FDA for the use in lupus nephritis, which is antibody positive, and they approved for the age group more than 5 years. The trial which is related to is the BLISS lupus nephritis trial. This is the 2-year RCT of belimumab in lupus nephritis. The conclusion is, if the patient is receiving standard of care, if you add belimumab to it, there is a better remission rate. I will show you the study design. This is the study design where they studied 448 patients allotted to either belimumab at the dose of 10 mg per kg plus standard of care, or the placebo plus the standard of care, which is MMF. I don't know whether they gave steroids or not, I am not sure. They gave the drug at day 0, 14, 4th week, and every 4 weeks. And as we see here, they studied 448 patients, placebo or belimumab. They have seen the remission rate partial and complete. As we see here, it is better in the belimumab group, which is 43% and 30%, and they have concluded that in active lupus nephritis, more patients who received belimumab plus standard of care had a primary efficacy screen response than those who received the standard of care. So one important trial related to the protocol biopsy, which was published in 2018 in Kidney International. They have studied 76 patients, all received immunosuppression for minimum of 42 months, and all were in remission for 12 months. Here the decision regarding the stopping of immunosuppression was made. At the time, they used to do the renal biopsy. If the histological activity is not there, they stop the immunosuppression. If histological activity is present, immunosuppression is continued. Then repeat biopsy was done in the 24th month. Again, similar histological activity, if present, immunosuppression was continued. Again, after 24 months, kidney biopsy was repeated. And only if the histological activity is not there, they have stopped the drug. And they have shown that lupus nephritis flare rate is 0.012 per patient per year, and incidence of CKD is 16%. I am not sure of whether they have shown in the conclusion that protocol kidney biopsy done during maintenance therapy may help in deciding whether to continue or withdraw the immunosuppression. This is the conclusion. Regarding this flare rate, how they told it is low, that I am not sure. You can study this article in 2018 Kidney International. So in this, I didn't cover the trials which are related to the renal biopsy and the classification of the lupus nephritis, how the development of the activity and chronicity index was made, and the trials related to it, and ongoing trials with biologicals were not covered. So first we have seen the trials which are related to the cytotoxic drug and how MMF came into picture. Second, trials related. Here we have seen induction and maintenance. Trial related to CNIs, B cell targeted therapies, and biological, and one trial related to the protocol biopsy. So this is the summary of the important landmark trial since the origin of lupus nephritis in 1922. In 1964, they introduced the steroids. So first NIH protocol 1986, they have shown that cytotoxic drugs better. Here steroids, here they told cytotoxic drugs is better. This is the NIH drug 2. They have shown that IV cyclophosphamide was superior, long, better than the short course. Third NIH protocol published in 1996. They have shown that combination therapy is better, or cyclophosphamide is better than cyclophosphamide is better than only the pulse steroid. Then the 2000 trial, important landmark trial, which compared the MMF, and they have shown that MMF is as effective as cyclophosphamide. Then 2002 Eurolupus, where they have showed low dose as equal as high dose. Then regarding the maintenance trial, one important is the ARMS maintenance trial of 2011. Along with this, maintain nephritis, and two more trials compared, and they have shown MMF is superior to AZA. Next, the rituximab related trial, LUNAR trial, they have shown addition of rituximab didn't show much difference. Then 2015 multi-target therapy, this related to voclosporin AURA-LV trial, they have shown that addition of voclosporin returned a better response. The last I discussed was the BLISS trial, which is related to the belimumab. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and this newer drug. These are all the important landmark trial in lupus nephritis.